Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's Daily Recap is for Monday, December the 26th, 2022. Monday, December the 26th, the last Monday in 2022. And today's episode was so-so. It's all right. We had Officer Cabrera's funeral was today. So Trina looked really nice today. Trina was there, Curtis was there, Marsha was there, of course, Laura was there, Spencer was supporting Trina. Trina explained that the Cabreras was just too distraught about it, so they were having a private memorial for Rory. That's my dog. Like clockwork, she knows I'm recording, and boy, does it start. But actually, I think it starts this time of night, her trying to get the phlegm up. But anyway, so they decide, okay, they're going to put their little plan into action, and a reporter interviews Laura. And Laura gives her statement, whatever she's going to say. And then the reporter's like, can we get a picture? So Spencer and Trina nuzzle their way right on up and say, sure. So they're in the picture with Laura. Spencer's got his hand, around one side of Trina and like another side, almost like they're posing like they're a couple, but not lovey-dovey couple, but noticeable enough that Curtis was like, why are they in a picture together, right? And Laura was kind of like at the end, what is going on, with you two? So Spencer tells her grandmother, I know what we're doing. Nothing, I'm just here to support Trina. So that's all he said he was doing. And so, she goes, Spencer, you've hurt that young lady enough. He goes, grandmother, nope, I know what I've done in the past, and I know what I'm doing, grandmother. And Curtis was kind of trying to lecture Trina about Spencer, how he's bad news. And Trina's like, remember, Curtis, remember boundaries? And he goes, yeah, I do. My little jacket's kind of acting up. He goes, yeah, I remember, but it's kind of hard for me to, you know, to not turn it on. She goes, well, I love you too, Curtis, but I know what I'm doing where Spencer's concerned. So Curtis just Marshall says, hey, Curtis, you want to go meet Portia? I can see to it that Trina gets home safely. So Curtis was like, yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. So he leaves. But now at the hospital, we have Portia. She is examining Heather to see if Heather is now fit to be released to go to Darkham. And of course, Heather is fine, and Portia gives her a full, clean bill of health. But it was interesting how Heather was trying to pump Portia for information on Trina. And she was funny. She read Portia's ID and she read it wrong. She said, Dr. Portia Galpinson. And I'm thinking, well, her name is Robinson. Where, did they just not pick up that she made that mistake and not correct it? Because Portia's like, yeah, that's right. And I'm thinking, no, it's not Galpinson. But anyway, they just let that slide. And I guess I got to let it slide too, even though I brought it to all of your attention, right? So anyway, she's like, yeah, oh, your daughter was on trial. And oh, that had to be horrible for you. And she's like bringing it all up, oh, her intimate she was framed for filming her friend's intimate moments. And oh, yes. And then she had to go to trial and it was touch and go. Woo! We were all watching that on the TV in prison, right? And Portia's just looking at her, like, okay, let me finish examining you, right? And so she goes, does your daughter ever talk about who was the one that did the framing? And she said, Esme Prince. Did she ever talk about that Esme Prince? And Portia looked at Heather and said, you know what? Open wide, because she had a tongue depressor. And she really depressed that tongue. Heather's kind of like, oh, goodness, So, of course, Portia didn't answer any of her questions. So, who was in first? Dante was in questioning Heather first. And then Heather made the suggestion, hey, I can help you all find Esme. I'm getting quite cozy with Ryan in Spring Ridge, so I could be of some help. So he tells Mac and Robert. Robert is the first one on the scene. So he's questioning Heather, and Heather saying, "Look, you guys have got nothing, nothing." And I and Ryan are becoming really chummy, because from the word is he and that Esme, they were pretty close. So I could get close to Ryan and I could get information and I could tell you. But what you have to do for me is I don't want to go back to Darkham. I like it much better at Spring Ridge. And in my mind, I'm thinking, of course, maximum security versus minimum. What would you like better? So Matt comes in and he and Robert, he's listening to it. And Robert's like, I can't, make that happen all on my own. I'll think about it, right? So he and Mac walk out. And Mac is like, what do you think, Robert? We can't trust a word she says. And Robert's like, you know what? I know, Mac. But right now we have nothing. We have no real leads. And perhaps if she could get us some information from Ryan Chamberlain, then I think it would be worth it. So we know they're going to do it because that's how Heather is going to help Ryan escape. She needs more access. So it looks like she secured that pretty doggone good, right? But then an officer comes in to check Heather's handcuffs and his phone, chimes. And so she goes, ooh, looks like you got a message on your phone. What is it? He goes, none of your business. I just came to check your handcuffs. So, because he took his phone out to look at it, he goes, I just came to check your handcuffs. Now he put his phone down on the surgical tray or the examination tray next to Heather. For one thing, why would I put anything that I put up close to my face on an exam table in an exam room? I'm just going to put my phone down there. No, you took it out your pocket, Keystone Cop. You're going to put it back in your pocket, Keystone Cop, right? So he checks the handcuffs and the nurse says, officer, I need you to sign some paperwork at the nurse's station. And I thought, well, goodness, and unless he's in custody of her, I mean, seemed like it would have been Mac or Robert, but okay, just the officer. All right. So he goes out to the nurse's station, of course, leaves his phone. Heather can't wait. She picks up that phone and, you know what? I forgot my picture when Heather was in there talking to Robert. There you go. Heather, Robert, Mac. I've already talked about that, right? So Heather picks up the phone and she sees the picture that the reporter from the Invader took, and it even looked different than what I saw the picture that he took. But Spencer got his hand there. Oh, him and Trina looking kind of close, and Heather looks at that like, oh, Heather's the hook. Seriously, she's a hook. But anyway, she's now mad looking at that's that Trina Robinson, and that's that Cassadine. He must be out of jail now, So Heather's got a sneak peek of that picture. Let's see if the guy comes back and says, hey, where's my phone? Give it to me now, or I'm going to search you for it. Yeah. Then we had a bunch of wasted time with Maxie and Brad. Britt has them both planning her party because, he's her best friend and Maxie's her family and the event planner and her friend, but they can't get along and they're arguing. And Austin comes in and he has a meeting with Britt and Terry, and he's proposing they get this cancer detection equipment. It's kind of expensive, but he's like, it will be so helpful in the early detection. So Terry said, oh, it's kind of expensive, too expensive. But I don't know, I think maybe. And Britt just like, yeah, I say, let's present it to the board. And Terry was like, wait, what? We work off of each other. I zig, you zag. I zig, you. He goes, but you know what? Who has time for zigzag? Let's just both zig at the same time, And Terry's like, okay, what's wrong with you? And she's like, nothing, Terry, nothing's wrong. She goes, something is wrong with you. And so Britt is like, no, it's just we don't have time for that. I mean, something, and she made some reference to when she's gone or something. And Terry's like, you plan on going somewhere? She says, no, I'm just saying we don't have time to waste. So then she goes out and she's talking to Maxie and Brad, and she lets them know, look, you guys are going to work together. You're going to work together for me. You're going to, all of this. And then she makes the reference again, because when I'm gone, I want this party to be remembered. This is the best party or whatever. And they're like, when you're gone, are you going somewhere? And she's like, life is short. You never know. I just want this to be the best party. And I need you too, for one night, to just get along for me. Can you both do it for me? And they're like, well, sure, we could do it for you. Of course, we could do it for you. But now we got everybody looking at Britt sideways because she keeps making references to herself being gone. So Austin comes in to see Britt a little bit later, and he's like, okay, all right, it's getting obvious. He goes, you need to just tell people. You need to let them know, Britt. Your friends would want to know. And she's like, I am very busy, Dr. Gatlin Holt, very busy. And he goes, hey, I'm just saying. So he walks out. And then that baby that was delivered at the Quartermain house is in the nursery. And they named her Britt. Oh my goodness, I forgot her middle name. It wasn't Britt Noel. Maybe it was Britt Noel. But anyway, he's just staring at the baby because it's kind of a life he helped bring in, even though I could have swore Britt was all between the lady's legs delivering that baby. I don't really recall Cody that close at all, because behind Britt was either Austin or TJ. But anyway, so Mac comes up, and he and Mac are having actually a nice conversation, and he's making reference to a decision he made when he was a teenager. I am so sick of Cody mentioning something, whatever it is, that has to do with Dante. Because the interesting thing is, when he and Dante are talking alone, he doesn't mention it. He brought that up one time, said, yeah, man, well, Sam will find out what happened when we were teenagers if you don't stop her from trying to get my records unsealed or looking at my sealed records. He never once says, Dante, I think I made a mistake covering for you. Or, Dante, that was a mistake. He never says that, but he's dropping these subtle hints to everybody else. And it looked like he wanted to tell Mac, but Dante walked up and told Mac that Robert, I think, was going in Heather's room, and Heather wanted to try to make a deal, and Mac may want to go, see what that was all about. And then he and Dante were talking. Now, you almost on the verge of telling Mac something, but yet Dante comes up and you both are looking at the baby, and Dante gave him a compliment, and Cody was like, you didn't tell Mac that I had something, to help deliver the baby. And he goes, yeah, I did, because you did. You were a big help, and you deserve the credit. He didn't want to say, but you know what? I'm just thinking about mistakes I said I made a long time ago. No, because he'd rather blindside Dante with the truth coming out instead of talking to Dante about how he feels, and that he feels he wants to clear the air or clear his name or whatever he wants to do so Dante could prepare, right? He'd rather it come out, and he'd rather it blindside Dante, because Cody actually does not have good intentions where Dante is concerned. He doesn't. So then at the end, we have Dante. He leaves Cody, and he showed up. He looked really rather dapper in his police uniform and his hat. Matt too, man. So he gets there, and Sam gives him a hug. I'm really liking the way this couple looks together. I'm liking the way they relate to each other. Sam has this maturity in her, but the funny thing is, you change one guy that works in a dangerous profession to another guy that works into a dangerous profession. That's interesting. The only one that was humdrum and got out of the life was Drew when he found out he was Drew. Because when he was Jason, he was still, woo, yeah, you know. But then he decided he was going to get out of that life for Sam and Scout. And that's when they bought Aurora. But Sam was sure bored of that. She's not bored with Dante because there's still that element of danger there. You know, it's still there, just a different kind of danger. He's on the right side of the law kind of danger. So anyway, that was it. That's all that happened on General Hospital today. You know, this week between Christmas and New Year's is a very slow week. Nothing really is going to happen this week, too much. But you know what? Let's go to Comment Corner. We got quite a few comments in Comment Corner. So let me just breeze right through them. We have Rita. She says, I was happy to see Ellie too. Didn't she work in the lab with Brad? Yes, she did work in the lab with Brad. As a matter of fact, she was under Brad. And Brad had just a little more rank than she had. And he used to boss her around. And she didn't like the way he cut corners because she was a very honest and conscientious lab tech. And Brad, she was forever like stumbling into his dirty dealings and everything. And ultimately, she was just couldn't handle and not working it. But then when something happened and Brad left the lab way back then for a period, and Ellie got his position. And she liked working at the lab, but it was just she got a better offer later in Portland, and that's when she went, and Spinelli went too. And then Deborah says, Griffin's coming back. His ex, I think Ava had a thing. Yes, Ava and Griffin were in love before Griffin fell in love with Kiki. He and Ava did went their separate ways because Ava just could not stop lying and just, Brad wanted to turn Ava into something she wasn't. And Ava tried to be good and not lie to stay with Griffin, but it just didn't work. And Griffin and Kiki worked out very well, especially when Kiki was, you know, becoming a doctor. And then it says, wow, Ellie is involved with him. Nicholas gone from the show now. This could get good. I bet he thinks he left to get away from Ava. And she has been lying to him. I think Ava was dating crazy Kevin. I don't know what that, I think he left to get away. Oh, we're talking about Griffin. Oh, you went from Nicholas to back to Griffin. He did. He left after Kiki. When Kiki was found murdered, Griffin left. He could no longer stay in Port Charles. And then Deborah says, Griffin was in love with Kiki. And Karen says, just seen something on YouTube that Griffin Monroe is Ellie's new man. Yes, I found, who was that? That was Karen. And LaShunta says, I found out who Ellie's boyfriend is. Ellie was in the lab. Griffin Monroe, Ava's ex-boyfriend that fell in love with Kiki. Yes, indeed. I know, we know that's who she's talking to. They lived in Portland. Carly and Franco went there for Spinelli to clean up AJ's phone. Yeah, they would bring Spinelli in every so often, and sometimes people would go to Portland. They found out Ava killed Connie. Why is Sonny selling the garage? It was Jason's, then Brando's. Why not keep it? I know maybe he just wants to. Valerie says, I knew Matt Griffin is coming back because he shared a photo on Instagram a while ago, but I never expected him to be with Ellie. I liked the episode as a whole. And then Ron says, Heather can't be the hook and be in two places at one time. Plus, where she is at is not around the corner where she could have gone in and out. Yes, where she is closer than where she was in Darkham. And remember, they had not shown Heather or Ryan for a number of days. And I said, my goodness, we haven't seen Ryan and Heather. Have they both already escaped? So there was definitely some time for Heather to get out of there. Remember, Heather got into Ryan's room with a set of guard keys. Oh, she can get in and out of there. Period. Call herself up a Uber. She's out of there. She's out of Spring Ridge, right? LaShunta says, it ain't a place that can hold Heather Weber. She escapes all the time. That is so true. Annette says, maybe Ellie's seen Dylan, Tracy's son, or Cody. Nope, she's seeing Griffin. Annette says, my mistake about Esme's mother made Gloria is Esme's mother, nor Gladys. I don't know what that is. LaShunta says, Gloria was Ryan's wife. Yeah, Ryan's wife from a long time ago. He killed in front of Felicia 30 years ago. Yep. And Deborah says, Ellie worked in the lab while she's dating Kiki's ex, but Ava had an interest in this guy, and he left Port Charles to start a new life after Kiki got killed by Ryan. Yes. And then Cindy says, we wouldn't have been allowed to talk to our parents the way Georgie talks to Maxie sometimes. Now, Georgie was basically raised by Spinelli and Ellie, so I would expect them to have raised her with good manners and respect when talking to adults and parents, especially. Yeah, I know, but sometimes they still got that hands-off thing going on. So that's where Georgie feels she can say whatever she wants. And then Cindy says, I was pleasantly surprised to see Griffin calling Ellie. I'd love to have him return to the show, but haven't heard any formal announcements. And then somebody said, did his face show up? Oh, did his face show up? And then Cindy says, yes, it showed up on that phone. And I guess Sasha and Britt rode in the motorcycle through the grass, all right, to get to the Quartermains because the roads were so foul with ice, which is why TJ and Molly and the pregnant woman ended up at the Quartermains house. And then Anna Riata says, it was nice to see the original Ellie and a great storyline. She with her would be wonderful. Spinelli and Maxie should just be together. And Joycey and Sasha and Sunny seen together. I did too. It was a positive light for Sasha, remembering Brando in a nice way. And where is Monica again? Monica is upstairs, sick or not feeling well. The actress is probably pretty much almost fully retired. They just haven't announced it. The actress who plays Monica. And let me see, what was in Olivia's sauce, LOL? It was supposed to be really spicy, but nobody else was walking out of there going, whoa, no, I mean, but the girl went in labor. She's probably going to go into labor anyway. You made me laugh so hard because Olivia can't talk the woman through having a baby. I was falling out. I know Olivia was like, pull on over, move over, guys. I got this. Britt was ready to go and a baby is born. Prop baby, LOL, prop baby. Oh, that was the worst prop baby in town. And then Sandy says, it was nice to see Ellie again. I heard a while back that Griffin was coming back. That would be nice to have Ellie and Griffin back at the hospital. It sure would. Bring some more people back to General Hospital because the lab really has no one. Maxie and Spinelli belong together. They just dumped all the B characters at the Quartermain's house today. I enjoyed Olivia today. I'm in California. I'm a California girl now living in Atlanta. It's 6 degrees. You guys had a cold weekend this past weekend, the East Coast. Well, we had 70 degree, 80 degree weather out here. I'm just saying. And then let's see, how did I miss Mrs. Showing Griffin? Oh, and I found out. I went back and watched it, and then that's why I did a picture, and I showed that Griffin his name came up on her phone. LaShunta says Ava won't like that. It's a mixed match. Look, Ava Griffin's been back a couple times since he's been separated from Ava. He's cordial to her, but he ain't even trying to play no sparks again. And then Nancy says she worked in the lab as a biochemist. Merry Christmas to you as well as everyone else here. I hope everyone in here not only has or had a very Merry Christmas, as well as being safe, blessed Christmas evening. By the way, I knew Britt was getting ready to take the motorcycle to the Quartermain's house. That was priceless. When Britt and Sasha came walking through the door, that was awesome. I know they both took out their helmets and flipped their hair. Yeah, the first thing I noticed when Britt walked through the door was supposed to be a newborn. Yeah, and it was stiff as a board when she had that baby. It was so ridiculously noticeable. If General Hospital couldn't do any better than that for a baby, then they should have gone with the sound of a baby crying. I know. By the way, I have always felt like Spinelli and Maxie should have gotten back together after Nathan died. They were meant to be together, in my humble opinion. In IMHO. Okay, in my humble opinion. Well, thank you for writing it out, Nancy, first, because I would have tried to figure out what is IMHO. Thank you. Let me see. By the way, I never found out that shaking my head stands, what shaking my head stands for. So you know more than I do. Oh, shaking my head. I usually figure out what most mean, but I haven't figured out it is beyond me. Shaking my head is shaking your head. And then Sheila says, I felt Ellie was an RN. I thought Ellie was an RN, friend of Felix. Nope, Ellie worked in the lab. And Ruth says she worked in the lab alongside Britt and Brad. Britt never worked in the lab. Her best friend Brad did, and they always were talking together. She was a biochemist. At least that's what I think. Yeah, she was. She might have been. You might have a different opinion. That's okay. I like your hat, though. Well, thank you for liking my hat, Ruth. And Deborah says Spinelli loves Maxie. Maxie, Georgie would love for them to get together. And Sasha taking Britt to the Quartermains to deliver the baby. Wow, made me sick to see Nina and Sonny at the end. I know, but Carly was with Joss. And that was nice to see. And Elizabeth needs to tell someone about Esme. Laura will be the perfect, I don't know about Laura being the perfect one to tell. After all, Nicholas is Laura's mother. She tried to figure a way out of it for her son. What do you think? Yeah, if Laura finds out, she's going to try to figure out how she can make it right. And so that Nicholas doesn't get into a lot of trouble. Because look, for her family, Laura will bend the law. Yes, she will. Okay. So anyway, that is all the comments from Comment Corner. Thank you so much for sharing your comments with me. I will be back tomorrow for another episode of General Hospital.